Welcome to your in-depth weekly astrology overview and zodiac forecast for week commencing the 10th of March. It's a mighty week. I'm going to share with you to begin with some standout details to look out for. Then on screen, the event chart right at the start of the week, which always provides a backdrop energy for the whole 7 days. Then I'll go through each of the key influences frame by frame to give you a clear picture of what we can all collectively experience this week. Then I'll go through each of the 12 zodiac signs from Aries through to Pisces to give you a flavour from that perspective, and you can relate to those in terms of your ascendant, sun or the moon. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're a regular visitor, all your views and interactions are truly appreciated. If you've yet to sub, please help the channel to thrive. Click that sub button, but also the bell notification symbol. Please take advantage of my special personal horoscope offer package. You can get your life roadmap report, the most important document you will ever read, but also your 12-month transits, totally unique to each person they're produced for, and get 30% off. Please see the link below for more. Also, if you'd like to work with me directly, please check out my one-to-one or astrology video readings by clicking below too. So, right at the start of this week, we do have two big planetary symmetries shaping up. The first is the alliance between Mercury and Venus. So Venus may be tracking backwards, Mercury moving forwards connects exactly on Tuesday. Now that has very exciting potential. Please stay with me for more on that. But we also have on Wednesday a Saturn GEMINI. That's potentially much more challenging. And then later in the week, of course, on Friday, we have the lunar eclipse, the second in a series between the signs of Pisces and Virgo. This one's in Virgo, but on the other side of the heavens, Saturn still very close to the sun. It provides a backdrop energy for the next 6 months. I'm going to guide you through that too. Then on Saturday, Mercury, the planet of communication, goes into a retrograde, which will go on through to the middle of April. On the screen now, I'm showing the event chart right at the start of week commencing the 10th. The sun's at 19 degrees, but you can see just a couple of degrees away from Saturn. But we also have the position of the moon in Leo in a direct opposition to the position of Pluto in Aquarius. So I think it's going to be an intense start to this week. And essentially the combination between Venus and Mercury gives us an opportunity to elevate our thinking and our communication in a much more vivacious way, but particularly if there's something that we're wanting to engage with that's creative or self-expressive. It may be, for some people, there could be a reconnection to an old business customer or connection, or perhaps to an old flame with Venus in retrograde, or perhaps it's going to be an opportunity to reset in some way around a relationship in general. But by Wednesday, the application of the Sun to Saturn is very powerful indeed. If we think that Saturn in the sign of Pisces is not really a good fit, Pisces doesn't really like boundaries and Saturn specializes in them. So what we've got is the sign of Pisces, which is the 12th zodiac sign and essentially the sign of culmination. We have Saturn coming to the end of its long journey over 29.5 years. It's around about at 28.75 years through that process. It's going to move into the sign of Aries for 3 months from the 26th of May, but from the start of September through to early next year, it's back in Pisces. So this is bringing some things home, particularly in terms of consequences. Saturn is about timing, but it's also about karma. The sign of Pisces is very much about the more ephemeral, spiritual, psychological dimension. And if there is something in our world that we're finding to be rather oppressive or heavy, it's going to be very hard to escape that reality at the heart of this week. Yet by Friday, we have that lunar eclipse. A lunar eclipse is when the sun and the moon are in competition. They're not on good terms. They're quarrelsome. They have very different energies. They're not integrated. So to have Saturn so close to the position of the sun, but in a very cold, potentially repressive opposition to the moon, what we're being asked to do with the moon in Virgo is be much more aware and conscious of the practicalities of life, the details, but also our physical world, anything to do with our exercise, diet, nutrition, routines, the work and sacrifices we make. Does it feel right? If it doesn't feel right, it's going to come out in a very potent way over this next half year. Then with Mercury going retrograde at the end of the week, as ever, Mercury retrogrades can cause snags, delays, misunderstandings, cross wires, but the sign of Aries is about new beginnings. So it may be something that we were envisioning only at the start of the week with Venus's conjunction to Mercury that may stumble. Something that did seem on track may actually slow down, hit a buffer, or perhaps change altogether. It may be that our relationship to a strand that's ongoing could alter over these next few weeks. I'm going to go through each of these influences in terms of all the 12 zodiac signs next. Please stay with me as I do that for you now. So Aries, your week commencing the 10th of March forecast begins with the combination on Tuesday of Mercury and Venus in your sign. Now, ordinarily, if Venus wasn't retrograde, it's a sparkling alliance, and it could give you still, despite that retrograde, an opportunity to showcase some talent, some flair, some ideas that you have, and to animate them in a very powerful way. But you'll need to make sure that you've done your research and you're really invested completely into whatever you're trying to do. Because if there is a little bit of a doubt within you, those doubts could come through quite strongly this week, as by Wednesday the Sun combines with Saturn, the planet of limitation, and that's in a part of your chart to do with your psychological well-being. And therefore, if you've got some perhaps anxieties or uncertainties, and perhaps not quite convinced, it could be around a relationship. It may be about something that you want to start up from scratch. It may be something that had been ongoing. But any lingering doubts you've got are going to be very hard to ignore this week. Essentially, the big picture in your situation, Aries, is that certain parts of your life are going to radically develop over the next month, particularly with the solar eclipse in your sign on the 29th and the arrival of Neptune. You also have the spring equinox on the 20th. The Sun pitches up in Aries, and that creates also a connection with the retreating Venus. So you are going to have opportunities to get on the front foot, but I feel in order to seize them, you need to wind up any loose ends which are not really working for you. So that could be the juggle of this week, and indeed the lunar eclipse which occurs on Friday. So don't try to leap into something unless you've done the preparation, you're really set, true and fair, or you've got any doubts, because those will become much more prevalent once Mercury goes retrograde towards the end of this week. And through to the middle of April, if you're not really committed to a relationship, an idea, a job, a situation, it is going to become much more clear to you, and you could want to start over in a completely fresh and different way. Please check out your very special personal astrology package. You can order your Life Roadmap Report, the most important document you will ever read about you, based totally uniquely on you and your personal birth data, but also get your 12-month transit report too, and 30% off. Please see the link below for more. Also, if you'd like to speak to me directly, you can choose to book a one-to-one or a video astrology reading. Please see the link below for more. So Taurus, your week commencing the 10th of March forecast suggests that when you're thinking about your future plans and hopes, they really need to add up for you in order for you to continue towards whatever it is that's important. If you have got any uncertainties, they could show up this week, and particularly around a romantic relationship. But it could also be around a friendship, with your ruler Venus in a warm embrace with Mercury on Tuesday. There could be a very important or delicate conversation you have, which can provide a heap of confidence and reassurance, or it can make you much more aware that another person is never ever going to understand where you're coming from. And by Wednesday, you may be in the mood to make some bold and binding decisions, as there is the Saturn cazimi. But that brings us to the lunar eclipse of Friday. And it's a lunar eclipse which over the next 6 months is going to give you some options. Now, in life, having choices can be very empowering, but sometimes in order to reach out to the different options we have, it does mean that we have to leave something behind. And because Saturn is so powerfully in an opposition with the moon, however generous you're feeling or however benevolent you might want to be towards someone, you need to ask yourself some very searching questions. So whether it's a job or business you work in, whether it's an interest you have, whether it is a relationship, it may be that you're very fond of someone, it may be around that friendship. Once Mercury goes retrograde on Saturday, you could find yourself really doing some even greater amounts of soul searching. And that soul searching is because you're knowing, really, because of the role of Saturn, that the decisions you're going to make could have an impact on you for many moons to come. So when it comes to long-term plans, your connections to others, your alliances, your network, your friendships, or how much you really feel a current partner is right for that foreseeable future, if there are any doubts, you either need to think it through, talk it through, but you certainly need to give yourself permission to breathe into this situation and decide exactly what your action should be. Please check out your very special personal astrology package. You can order your Life Roadmap Report, the most important document you will ever read about you, based totally uniquely on you and your personal birth data, but also get your 12-month transit report too, and 30% off. Please see the link below for more. Also, if you'd like to speak to me directly, you can choose to book a one-to-one or a video astrology reading. Please see the link below for more. So Gemini, your week commencing the 10th of March forecast sees your ruler Mercury slam on the celestial brakes at the end of the week. But on Tuesday, Mercury forges a stunning alliance to Venus, the planet of money, but also the planet of relating, but in the part of your situation to do with collaborations, your network, your friendships, perhaps even your social world too. But I think there is going to be a very powerful sense of destiny about this week in terms of your professional or worldly interactions. For example, if you work in a business or you have your own enterprise where your connections to co-workers or colleagues or customers is very positive and strong, those can strengthen hugely over the next week. But if there is any uncertainties, an alliance you may have wanted to build up could start to falter as Mercury goes into that retrograde. Also, the lunar eclipse, which occurs on Friday, is reminding you that however much ambition, goals, and success may be extremely important to you at this time. It's very important that you do not ignore your inner emotional and family needs. So if you have found yourself with a lot of demands of late, it's going to be important over the next half year that you do create some more time to have rest and recuperation. Otherwise, it may seem to people close to you that you just simply do not have time for them. But if you are someone who builds your business or your interests through your professional interactions, this could be a very positive week. But as ever with Mercury retrogrades, if there is someone who's less reliable in your world, and it may be a friend or someone who's got different values or principles to you, it could show up even in a professional situation. Please check out your very special personal astrology package. You can order your Life Roadmap Report, the most important document you will ever read about you, based totally uniquely on you and your personal birth data, but also get your 12-month transit report too, and 30% off. Please see the link below for more. Also, if you'd like to speak to me directly, you can choose to book a one-to-one or a video astrology reading. Please see the link below for more. So Cancer, your week commencing the 10th of March forecast begins with an alliance on Tuesday between Venus and Mercury. They're going to be closely threaded together for the whole of this week, but of course Mercury then goes into a retrograde on Saturday. In terms of your professional world, goals and ambitions, if you work in an environment which is quite stifled, perhaps very demanding, and maybe not very flexing, particularly to your personal or emotional needs, you may find yourself thinking, is this the perfect place for you? Because the combination of Venus and Mercury can be actually very fortunate. For example, if you're applying for a job and you have an interview or do a presentation and the rapport between you and the other people is strong, that can be a great asset of this week. But if you do work somewhere or you've had goals and ambitions which are not really working for you, a sense of restriction and limitation can really start to inch into you and your very being. One of the reasons for that is the Saturn cazimi on Wednesday. And that's occurring in a part of your chart which has been a growth sector since 2012 when Neptune moved for the long term into the sign of Pisces. That gave you a great appetite to expand your knowledge, your spiritual awareness, to travel, to create art or music or photography. But what Saturn has done over the last couple of years is tightened the screw a little bit. It doesn't mean to say you haven't learnt things from then or you haven't made progress, but you've probably really had to work hard for them. There could be a dispute this week over a contractual matter. Perhaps it's something you're just not enjoying anymore. And all this comes to the fore with the lunar eclipse on Friday. Over the next 6 months, your thoughts and philosophies, if they don't mesh with the people at the heart of your life or the people you're needing to negotiate with, it is going to become manifestly obvious to you. And creating the space to be able to breathe, do your own thing, be a free spirit is going to be important. So Mercury going retrograde at the end of this week, which will go on through to the middle of April, and it will retrace its steps back into the sign of Pisces at the end of March, suggests you may decide to look for a new position which does have the chemistry, the people environment that you may be craving for at this time. Alternatively, if you are thinking about relocating to somewhere else and there is some kind of property transaction to go through, just be aware that some delays could be ahead. But it's not just because of Mercury and its retrograde, it is because of that lunar eclipse and the role of Saturn, which can be very limiting, but particularly around any legal or contractual matters. Please check out your very special personal astrology package. You can order your Life Roadmap Report, the most important document you will ever read about you, based totally uniquely on you and your personal birth data, but also get your 12-month transit report too, and 30% off. Please see the link below for more. Also, if you'd like to speak to me directly, you can choose to book a one-to-one or a video astrology reading. Please see the link below for more. So Leo, your week commencing the 10th of March forecast asks you in a way to look back over the last couple of years and assess how much the commitment and investment of time and energy, or even spiritually or even romantically, however much commitment you've been putting in, really has created something in return. If the answer to that is not as much as you would like, you could find yourself thinking a lot more about where you can create a more independent approach. Now, that doesn't mean to say breaking away from something completely. It could mean booking a holiday if you've been working long hours. It could mean, if you're in a much more constructive relationship, jetting off somewhere with a partner, using the Venus conjunction with Mercury to do something completely off the cuff and spontaneous, which can be very positive for you. But if you do feel that your commitment hasn't been matched, it's going to be something which really starts to stick in your throat from this week, but right through the next 6 months. The lunar eclipse has Saturn in the mix. And whilst Uranus is also in the mix in a much more constructive way, pushing you to be more inventive about how you generate income, Saturn is asking you to ask some searching questions. So it's not necessarily about your exact financial situation at the moment, it's more the sentiments and attitudes that are around this equation. And if you don't feel that you're getting back what you're giving, not necessarily quid pro quo, but more just in terms of that sincerity, as Mercury goes retrograde at the end of this week, that can give you the need to just step back, create a bit more independence, do your own thing, and really through to the end of March, that's going to become much more of a theme. So I feel that what this week essentially is about, if you're in a situation where you feel respected and appreciated and you're working closely together, give yourself permission to have some time out. If you're in a situation where you're giving all that effort and commitment and don't seem heard, appreciated or respected, you're going to start thinking much more carefully about creating more space and independence for yourself. Please check out your very special personal astrology package. You can order your Life Roadmap Report, the most important document you will ever read about you, based totally uniquely on you and your personal birth data, but also get your 12-month transit report too, and 30% off. Please see the link below for more. Also, if you'd like to speak to me directly, you can choose to book a one-to-one or a video astrology reading. Please see the link below for more. So Virgo, your week commencing the 10th of March forecast sees your ruling planet Mercury very much in the celestial mix. It's forging an inspiring link to Venus, the planet of relating, but also the planet of money. But Venus, of course, is in retrograde. But when they come into the exact alliance on Tuesday, you may get to have a conversation that could be very revealing, because the 8th house where they're connected is about getting beneath the surface. Now, for example, if you were contemplating your resources or long-term finances, having a discussion with an advisor could give you some fantastic extra insights which help you to squeeze more from your resources. But of course, Venus can also be about love, and the 8th house can, to be honest, be about lust. If there is someone that you're strongly attracted to and you're finding them almost irresistible, there could be some flirty connections this week. But equally, it can be the converse, because with Saturn being joined by the Sun on Wednesday, what's known as the Saturn cazimi, that could really focus your thinking about a connection you have to someone else. Now, that might not be romantically. If there is someone that you have to deal with that you find tricky, their presence can just seem really quite heavy. If, on the other hand, you've got a constructive relationship with someone who's got a lot of experience or wisdom to share, you might be very receptive to what they have to say. Astrology is never all one way, because each planet, each influence, and each zodiac sign has its best but also worst manifestation. But the lunar eclipse, which occurs on Friday, does ask you to think very much about your situation in terms of your personal needs. It's in your sign. If you feel that your personal needs are in some ways being conflicted by the demands other people have of you, could be family members, could be friends, could be your work, you may want to set a firmer boundary over the next 6 months. And Mercury going retrograde at the end of the week may be that you're even prepared to let go of some kind of financial benefit if you feel that you can reclaim your agency, your control over a situation. So any kind of relationship which is not working very well could show up this week, but equally you could decide to become more connected and committed if the vibes are right. So it's just a little bit polarized for you, but it is also the case that someone with great experience could give you some fantastic encouragement and share their wisdom in a way which could be very good for you around your long-term financial planning. Please check out your very special personal astrology package. You can order your Life Roadmap Report, the most important document you will ever read about you, based totally uniquely on you and your personal birth data, but also get your 12-month transit report too, and 30% off. Please see the link below for more. Also, if you'd like to speak to me directly, you can choose to book a one-to-one or a video astrology reading. Please see the link below for more. So Libra, your week commencing the 10th of March forecast sees your ruling planet Venus continue to retrace her steps in your sector of relating. Does that mean that relationships are going to stall? Well, of course, Mercury in that area is aligning to Venus throughout this week, and the two forge a perfect accord on Tuesday. If there is something you want to discuss, that would be a great day to do it. But the retrograde of Mercury at the end of this week suggests that if you don't feel heard around something that you feel is unfair, perhaps where you're putting in a lot of effort, a lot of commitment, a lot of dedication, perhaps even sacrifice, that's all going to show up with the Saturn cazimi on Wednesday, but also with the lunar eclipse. But people will take you at face value. If you're not rocking the boat, because that part of your nature that likes to keep a sense of equilibrium, it may be that you're not seizing enough attention. So do speak out on the back of that lunar eclipse. And if there have been irritations or injustices, particularly at work, that you don't feel are being addressed, Mercury's retrograde at the end of this week suggests that you may need to rethink your strategy if you don't, early in the week, get to feel heard or seen or recognised in the way you want. But you could therefore find yourself being much more direct, much more to the point, but also letting people know exactly and clearly what you're doing, and that may surprise them, because at some kind of level, not in a particular sinister way, they may have just been assuming of your goodwill. So it's really a week when you can create a better outcome, but you need to take the initiative and be on the front foot. Please check out your very special personal astrology package. You can order your Life Roadmap Report, the most important document you will ever read about you, based totally uniquely on you and your personal birth data, but also get your 12-month transit report too, and 30% off. Please see the link below for more. Also, if you'd like to speak to me directly, you can choose to book a one-to-one or a video astrology reading. Please see the link below for more. So Scorpio, your week commencing the 10th of March forecast makes me think of that old maxim that we can't keep all of the people happy all of the time. The lunar eclipse for you occurs in the part of your chart to do with where you can be playful, sociable, interactive, be mindful of what other people's needs are, your network. But the position of the Sun and Saturn is in house 5. That's much more about what you need. And if you feel that what you need is somewhat compromised by the amount of obligations or expectations other people have of you, it may be time to manage your time much more effectively over the next 6 months. And yet, if you are having an interview on Tuesday, the combination between the retreating Venus but the sparkling Mercury could see you come across very well in any situation where you need to put the best foot forwards. But it's that crunch between the Sun and Saturn at the heart of this week, which really is very powerful. Essentially, it's saying to you that if you're not finding an outlet for what brings you joy, that's where you need to rethink. It could be around your work. It could be around those social interactions. It may even be around a current love relationship. And as the lunar eclipse comes in on Friday, Uranus in your sector of relationships is pushing you to be a bit bolder about what you do. So if you feel that your options are limited, it may require to break away from any person or group of people which is inhibiting you from really demonstrating what makes you special, your unique charisma. As the week draws to a close, Mercury's retrograde therefore suggests that if you have been caught up in being very obliging around obligations and routines and appointments, it may be time to give yourself permission, perhaps to create a bit more space, cancel a few things, have a bit more time for you. Time to be a little bit more single-minded this week, essentially, Scorpio. Please check out your very special personal astrology package. You can order your Life Roadmap Report, the most important document you will ever read about you, based totally uniquely on you and your personal birth data, but also get your 12-month transit report too, and 30% off. Please see the link below for more. Also, if you'd like to speak to me directly, you can choose to book a one-to-one or a video astrology reading. Please see the link below for more. So Sagittarius, your week commencing the 10th of March forecast sees two very contrasting influences competing for dominance this week. On the upside, Venus, which may be in retrograde, forges a sparkling alliance to Mercury. This can be one of astrology's more fortunate influences, and for you it occurs in the 5th house, which can be playful, it can be flirty, it can be romantic, but it's also brilliant if you've got creative strands that you want to showcase. The Venus retrograde could be asking you to dig a little bit deeper into your resources in order to use that energy constructively. But you need to do that also being mindful that you have had Saturn in your home and emotional sector for 2 years, and that's joined this week by the Sun. It only happens once a year. It is the Saturn cazimi. So it is a very weighty, anchoring influence, very much in contrast to that lighter, flirtatious link between Venus and Mercury. So for example, if you connect to someone or have been recently, and you do find them very attractive and fun, could you imagine actually connecting to them at a more intimate but regular level in your everyday life? That Saturn cazimi could flag up that potential blockage. Or is it someone you really like is not as available as you would prefer? Perhaps they've got children or you've got children that is something that needs to be considered. Perhaps it's work that could be inhibiting a more playful dimension. And also where you live, how you live there and who with, particularly on the lunar eclipse on Friday, is going to be a key feature of the next 6 months. And getting that juggle between being conscious of where challenges and limitations can come and relaxing and enjoying life's pleasures is this week's essential challenge. But by the end of the week, as Mercury goes into a retrograde, if you have been having a few dates with someone or you've been chatting with someone online, if it doesn't quite feel right, unfortunately, I think it's going to show up quite quickly, perhaps by as soon as the weekend. Now, Mercury is going to inverse back into the sign of Pisces by the end of March. So whatever you're doing at the moment, it has to feel right, even if it is more expressive, even if it is more creative or artistic, as much as enjoying your social world. So being in touch with that Saturnian energy and not trying to deny it is a better way to work with it. So if you have got some big responsibilities, perhaps to elderly parents or to children, or perhaps it is to do with the limitations of where you live, that isn't something you can just ignore. So that's really, I feel, what the lunar eclipse is saying to you. Take those things seriously, but also give yourself permission to try to find some creative solutions too. Please check out your very special personal astrology package. You can order your Life Roadmap Report, the most important document you will ever read about you, based totally uniquely on you and your personal birth data, but also get your 12-month transit report too, and 30% off. Please see the link below for more. Also, if you'd like to speak to me directly, you can choose to book a one-to-one or a video astrology reading. Please see the link below for more. So Capricorn, your week commencing the 10th of March forecast makes me think that over the last couple of years, have there been some skirmishes or differences of opinion with someone quite close to you? Maybe someone in your community, a neighbour, perhaps a sibling. This week's combination between the retreating Venus and Mercury that's exact on Tuesday is a marvellous opportunity to try to reset things in a more healing and potentially more inclusive and sensitive way. But that doesn't mean to say that you're prepared to back down from something you feel very strongly about. But that combination of Venus and Mercury does suggest that if you use your language carefully and delicately, you can still make your point firmly and could get heard much better than being fiercer and more to the point. But the eclipse, which occurs on Friday, does also make me think, is there part of your situation that feels a bit enclosed? Because if you do feel a bit hemmed in, the next 6 months could see you wanting to change something, but it might be around where you live. So if you live in an environment which is too noisy, too quiet, too small, too large, that may be what you want to adjust in terms of your thinking or who you need to connect to on a daily basis over this next half year. With Mercury going retrograde at the end of the week, if you find it difficult to get another person to see your viewpoint, things could get even more bogged down, unfortunately. And if you are trying to negotiate on a property rental or sale, just be aware that Mercury retrograde could cause some real glitches from now through to the end of the month. But remember, Mercury retrogrades also give us the chance to recalibrate, rethink and reset. So see this week as an opportunity to use language really carefully. But at the same time, if you want to still continue to be sincere about something that means a lot to you, that doesn't mean to say you have to change the central point. It's just how you deliver it. So it's a classic case of not what you say, but how you say it. Please check out your very special personal astrology package. You can order your Life Roadmap Report, the most important document you will ever read about you, based totally uniquely on you and your personal birth data, but also get your 12-month transit report too, and 30% off. Please see the link below for more. Also, if you'd like to speak to me directly, you can choose to book a one-to-one or a video astrology reading. Please see the link below for more. Aquarius, your week commencing the 10th of March forecast could be a week of important discussions because Mercury, the planet of communication, of talk and thought, links to Venus, the planet of charm, which is retracing its steps in your third house. The third house is about ideas, but it can be about our beliefs. Because the combination of your traditional ruler Saturn and the Sun on Wednesday, the cazimi, becomes exact, something you've been grappling with over the last couple of years, potentially a slowdown in income. Perhaps it's more about coming to terms with your self-worth or value as a human being. Maybe that's what you're thinking about or discussing. The lunar eclipse, which occurs on Friday, is a need to get a better balance between the ins and outgoings in your situation. But the 8th house position of the lunation is really also about where we're most devoted. It's where we're most invested emotionally. So if you're in a situation where you feel that someone's very critical or harsh or has very high expectations of what you do but doesn't give back to you what you feel you deserve, the conversation you're having really starts to change when on Saturday Mercury goes into its retrograde. So through to the end of March, the dialogue can continue or the frustration can inch up. But just know, if you don't get exactly what you're wanting this week, if you are trying to negotiate a loan, you're trying to reset your mortgage rate, you're trying to get some kind of insurance policy set up, or perhaps trying to get an improvement in your terms as far as a contract or your job is concerned, do know that as this month goes on, the chances are you're not going to give up, because we're going to have on the 20th the spring equinox, which connects the Sun arriving in Aries to Venus. Very powerful. Then we're going to have the solar eclipse on the 29th in Aries, but then on the 30th Neptune moves into the sign of Aries too. And what's going to happen is once the Sun joins up with Venus on the 20th and they link back to Pluto in your sign, joined by Neptune at the end of the month, even if this week doesn't tease into the open exactly what you feel you deserve, patience and persistence will be important over the next few weeks. So just try to keep the dialogue going, even if you don't get to exactly where you want this week itself. Please check out your very special personal astrology package. You can order your Life Roadmap Report, the most important document you will ever read about you, based totally uniquely on you and your personal birth data, but also get your 12-month transit report too, and 30% off. Please see the link below for more. Also, if you'd like to speak to me directly, you can choose to book a one-to-one or a video astrology reading. Please see the link below for more. Pisces, your week commencing the 10th of March forecast sees Saturn, which has been with you for near to 2 years, coming into an exact conjunction with the Sun in your sign. This could see you pause a little bit about something you've been working on that you felt very enthusiastic around. Also, because of the lunar eclipse on Friday, maybe someone that you're needing to relate to or someone you're close to is not quite getting what you're trying to do either. It's possible that you're having to show a lot of sacrifice, but also patience. You may not have quite as much free time or available space for them, and that could be a point of contention. Now, this is a week, if you're thinking about it financially, where you could actually have a breakthrough with Venus and Mercury, despite Venus's retrograde coming into an exact conjunction on Tuesday, but equally with Mercury going retrograde at the end of the week. If something isn't quite working, you may have to think again. So there is a little bit of a sense of 2 steps forwards and 1 step back. And that Saturn energy, both on the Sun on Wednesday, but also in the mix on that lunar eclipse, it can be quite burdensome, it can be quite limiting. So if your physical vitality is a little bit lower this week, one of the things you could be tempted to do is perhaps treat yourself to something to give yourself a lift. Perfectly understandable. But if you have felt sluggish, one of the good things you could do this week is be a bit more aware of your diet, particularly if you're someone who's drawn towards any kind of calorific goodies in order to escape life's mundane demands. But seriously, that link between the Sun and Saturn is asking you to assess where you are around something that's very important. It doesn't mean you should give up, but it may mean that there are some amendments. But for some Pisces people, if something doesn't really feel it's ever going to give you a return, it may be the moment when you do think a change of direction is required. But just don't rush that decision is really the main part of this week's message. Please check out your very special personal astrology package. You can order your Life Roadmap Report, the most important document you will ever read about you, based totally uniquely on you and your personal birth data, but also get your 12-month transit report too, and 30% off. Please see the link below for more. Also, if you'd like to speak to me directly, you can choose to book a one-to-one or a video astrology reading. Please see the link below for more.